She defied the most feared man in Seoul, and captured his heart instead. When Adebisi, a fearless Nigerian café owner, stands up to Han Joon-seok, a ruthless Korean mafia heir, she sparks a dangerous war of pride, power, and passion. What begins as defiance soon turns into an obsession neither can escape. Can love truly conquer the darkness within a man who rules the city's shadows? Watch till the end to feel every heartbeat, every tear, and every twist. Welcome to Afro Korean Stories. Two worlds. One love. Endless emotions. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. The plate shattered against the marble floor like a gunshot. The sound silenced every murmur in the restaurant. Oil hissed in the kitchen. Someone gasped near the door. Adebisi froze mid-step, her hand still holding a tray of soju bottles. Her pulse raced, but her eyes didn't leave the man sitting near the window, the man who had just flicked the plate aside like it was worthless. Han Joon-seok. He was dressed in black, suit crisp, hair slicked back, expression carved from marble. Around him sat three men in tailored coats, their posture sharp, eyes scanning the room. They were the kind of men who carried power like a loaded weapon, quiet but terrifying. The restaurant, her small corner of peace, now felt like a cage. Adebisi took a breath, forcing calm into her trembling fingers. Then she walked forward. Every step echoed. "You broke it," she said evenly, setting down the tray. No one in Seoul spoke to Han Joon-seok like that. Not the suppliers. Not the politicians who owed him favors. Certainly not a restaurant owner from Nigeria who refused to close her doors for fear. Joon-seok tilted his head slightly, amusement flickering in his eyes. "Do you want me to pay for it?" The question dripped with mockery. "I don't want," she replied, voice steady. "You will pay. Everyone else does when they break something in my restaurant." The room held its breath. For a second, Joon-seok stared at her as if trying to decide whether to laugh or kill her. His men shifted uneasily. But then, slowly, a smirk curved his lips. "What's your name?" he asked. "Adebisi." "Pretty name," he said. "Dangerous mouth." She folded her arms. "Only when someone disrespects my space." Joon-seok leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting. "You think you can talk to me like that and stay in business?" Her heart thundered. She knew who he was, the quiet king of Seoul's underground, the man whose word could make or break entire districts. But she refused to bow. "I built this with my hands," she said. "I'll lose it standing, not crawling." His smirk faded, replaced by something unreadable. Then he nodded once, tossed a stack of bills on the table, and stood. "Keep the change," he murmured. "You'll need it." When the door shut behind him, the silence in the restaurant cracked into whispers. Adebisi exhaled. Her knees felt weak, but her pride kept her upright. She didn't know that from that moment, her life was no longer hers. The next morning, her supplier refused to deliver fresh produce. By afternoon, the gas line had been accidentally cut. By evening, two men on motorbikes circled her restaurant twice, revving their engines like wolves marking territory. She knew exactly who was behind it. Joon-seok. Adebisi refused to let fear win. She cleaned up, reopened the next day, and cooked twice as much. If they wanted her scared, they'd have to do worse. But by nightfall, her restaurant was empty. Every customer who had promised to come, gone. Every regular, silent. Even her delivery boy, Tae-min, texted that he couldn't risk helping her anymore. The city had turned its back. She stood behind the counter, the smell of cold stew thick in the air, staring at the untouched food. Her chest tightened, rage and despair mixing into something sharp. Then the door opened. Joon-seok walked in, alone. His presence filled the room, effortless and magnetic. He didn't need bodyguards tonight. The threat was his existence. "You're still open," he said quietly. "Of course," she replied, crossing her arms. "This is my place. You should have stayed closed." Seoul isn't kind to the defiant. I don't need Seoul's kindness. I just need it to eat. A corner of his mouth lifted. You're stubborn. I'm alive. He studied her, his gaze slow, heavy. Do you know how many people would have begged by now? I'm not people. The air between them grew electric, almost dangerous. Joon-seok stepped closer, his scent, a mix of smoke and winter, brushing past her senses. You think I'm the enemy, he said softly. But I could be something else. Adebisi met his gaze without flinching. What? A savior? No, his voice dropped lower. A test. Before she could respond, he turned and walked out again, leaving her alone with the echo of his words. That night, she couldn't sleep. His face haunted her, not because of fear, but because of the strange look in his eyes. Like he'd seen something in her he didn't understand, and couldn't stop trying to. Days turned into weeks. The pressure didn't stop. Her electricity was cut off twice. Customers avoided eye contact on the street. Yet, every time she reopened, she found a new envelope under her door. Cash, no note. Joon-seok was breaking her down, and helping her survive. It made no sense. One night, exhausted and furious, she went to find him. She asked around in the market, followed whispered directions until she reached a quiet street lined with black cars. The door to his private bar opened before she knocked. He was there, leaning against the counter, glass in hand, watching her like he'd been expecting this. You came, he said. Stop it, she snapped. Stop playing with my life. He didn't flinch. You challenged me. I'm simply responding. I wanted respect, not a war. He set the glass down, his jaw tightening. Then don't pick fights you can't win. Her chest burned. You think I'm scared of you? He stepped forward until they were inches apart. No, he whispered. That's what bothers me. Their eyes locked, defiance and danger clashing like sparks. For the first time, she saw something behind his coldness. A fracture. A shadow of loneliness that matched her own. Before she could speak, he turned away. Go home, Adebisi, before you make me forget what I am. The winter air bit through her coat as Adebisi walked home that night. Seoul's neon lights blurred in her eyes, part exhaustion, part anger. She had come to this city for peace, not war. But Han Joon-seok had turned her quiet café into a battlefield, one fought with silence, money, and fear. She told herself she would stay away. Forget his face. Pretend their worlds had never collided. But pretending became impossible 2 nights later when she returned to find her café door already unlocked. Her pulse spiked. She stepped inside, gripping her keys between her fingers like a blade. The lights were on. The tables clean. The floor swept. Even the broken window from last week had been replaced. And there he was, sitting at her counter like he belonged there. Joon-seok looked different tonight. His suit jacket was gone, sleeves rolled up, dark hair falling slightly over his forehead. The contrast of ruthless mafia air and calm domesticity made her brain short-circuit. What are you doing here? She demanded. Fixing what I broke, he said simply. She blinked. You vandalized my café, now you're cleaning it? He gave a faint smile. I didn't say I vandalized it. Don't play games with me, Han Joon-seok. You know what your name does in this city. He stood, slow and deliberate. And yet, you still say it. Adebisi didn't back down. You came here for something. What is it? His gaze softened just enough to unsettle her. Dinner. Dinner, she repeated incredulously. You said your jollof rice could make a man rethink his choices. I'm here to test the theory. She should have thrown him out. But instead, she turned toward the kitchen. You're not getting free food. He laughed, quietly, deeply, and something about the sound made her chest ache. She cooked in silence, the rhythm of her movements steady. When she served him the steaming plate, he didn't touch it immediately. He just looked at her. "You remind me of my mother," he said suddenly. That caught her off guard. "Excuse me. She used to cook like this," he murmured. "With pride. With purpose. Before my father turned her heart cold." There was no arrogance in his tone now. Just memory, fragile and painful. Adebisi studied him, the man whose name was whispered in fear, now looking at her food like it was salvation. "What happened to her?" "She died when I was 15. He took a bite, exhaled slowly. "After that, I learned that power was safer than love." Adebisi's throat tightened. "That's a lonely way to live." He looked up at her. "You say that like you understand." "I do," she said quietly. "You think moving across the world means escaping pain? It just follows you in another language." Their eyes met, two strangers bound by loss they never planned to share. Joon-seok set his chopsticks down. "You shouldn't be kind to me." "Why not?" "Because when I want something," he said, voice low, "I don't stop until I have it." The air in the café grew thick. Adebisi's heartbeat roared in her ears, but she refused to look away. "Then maybe you should want something good for once." He froze, as if no one had ever said that to him before. That night, he didn't leave right away. He stayed until closing, quietly helping her wipe down tables and take out the trash. He didn't touch her. Didn't ask for anything. Just worked beside her in silence. When he finally stepped out into the cold, he turned back once. "Lock your door tonight, Adebisi. Not everyone fears me." The next morning, a black car idled across the street. Every day after that, it was there. Silent, unmoving, watching. But no more vandalism. No more threats. Deliveries resumed. Customers slowly returned. Adebisi realized Joon-seok wasn't tormenting her anymore. He was protecting her. And that scared her even more. Weeks passed. He began showing up in small ways. Leaving tea at her door on rainy mornings. Sending flowers anonymously, though she always knew they were from him. One night, she found a note in perfect handwriting. "You don't owe me fear." But she wasn't naive. Power came with a price. And Joon-seok's world was built on blood and loyalty, not kindness. Still, something inside her shifted. The more she saw of him, the rare smiles, the moments where his guard slipped, the harder it became to see him only as a monster. One evening, she closed late. Snow had begun to fall, soft and soundless. As she turned off the lights, a shadow moved outside. She opened the door to find Joon-seok standing there, no coat, snow gathering on his shoulders. "You'll freeze," she said before she could stop herself. He gave a faint smile. "You worry too much. Maybe you don't worry enough." He stepped closer, the cold following him inside. "I've been thinking about you." Her pulse stuttered. "Don't." "I tried," he said, voice rough. "But every time I close my eyes, I see that night. The way you looked at me like I wasn't untouchable." Adebisi's throat felt tight. "You're not." He studied her for a long moment, eyes searching hers. Then quietly, "What do you see when you look at me, Adebisi?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Someone who's forgotten what it feels like to be loved." His breath caught. Something broke in him then. The mask, the arrogance, the control. He reached out, but she stepped back. "Don't," she said softly. "Not until you know who you are without the power." He exhaled shakily. "You think you can change me?" "No," she said. "But maybe you can change yourself." The silence between them felt alive. He nodded once, as if her words had cut deeper than any blade. "I don't deserve your grace," he murmured. "Then earn it." When he left that night, the snow followed him, erasing his footprints before they could fade. 3 days later, her café was quiet again when the news broke. The rival gang leader, Park Dae-hyun, had been killed. Adebisi's heart sank. She didn't want to believe it, but part of her already knew who was behind it. That night, Joon-seok came again, blood on his sleeve, eyes darker than ever. "Why?" she demanded, voice trembling. "You said you wanted peace." "I did," he said hollowly. "But peace doesn't survive without war." "You think this makes you strong?" He looked at her, broken and raw. "No. It makes me yours." She froze. "What?" He stepped closer, voice cracking. "I killed to protect the only thing that feels real anymore, you." Tears stung her eyes. "You can't protect me by destroying yourself." He touched her face gently, blood staining her cheek. "Then teach me another way." Adebisi didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the blood on Joon-seok's hands, the hollow look in his eyes, and the ache of something too dangerous to name. The city outside was quiet, snow falling thick against the café windows. She sat at one of the tables, the lights dim, trying to breathe through the noise in her chest. When the door opened, she didn't even flinch. She knew it was him before she looked up. Han Joon-seok stepped in, slower than usual. His shirt was clean now, but his expression was heavy, like a man who had finally realized how much he'd lost. "I didn't think you'd come back," she said softly. He closed the door behind him, the sound echoing. "I didn't come to stay." "Then why are you here?" He looked at her, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. "Because I need to know if there's still a reason to stop." She stood, crossing her arms tightly. "Stop what?" "Killing. Controlling. Pretending power is the same thing as peace." He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "I was born into this, Adebisi. My father built an empire of fear, and I've been trying to hold it together ever since he died. I don't know how to be anyone else." "Then learn," she said, stepping closer. "You're not your father, Joon-seok." He smiled bitterly. "The world doesn't care who I am, only what I can do." "Then make them care," she snapped. "Change the story. You think I moved here from Lagos because I was fearless? No. I was terrified. But fear didn't stop me. It pushed me." His gaze softened as he looked at her, snow melting on his hair. "You make it sound so easy." "It's not," she admitted. "But it's worth it." For a long moment, they just stood there, two broken souls standing between violence and redemption. Then, slowly, he reached into his pocket and placed a small black ring box on the counter. She stared at it, heart racing. "What is that?" He met her eyes. "A promise. Not a proposal. Not yet. Just a reminder that I want to be better. For you." Her breath caught. "Joon-seok. I know I don't deserve forgiveness," he said quietly. "But let me try to earn it. Let me protect this place, your café, your peace, without destroying everything else." Adebisi didn't touch the box. Instead, she stepped forward and placed her hand over his. "You don't protect peace with walls, Joon-seok. You protect it with truth." He swallowed hard, eyes glistening with emotion he could no longer hide. "Then tell me what truth you see when you look at me." She hesitated. Then, in a whisper, "I see a man who's fighting his own reflection." For the first time, Han Joon-seok looked like he might break. He turned away, hand trembling as he wiped at his eyes. "I don't know how to stop fighting." She moved closer, her voice steady. "Then let me help you remember why you started." Days passed. The city moved like nothing had changed, but in the underworld, everything had. Park Dae-hyun's men were gone, but a new threat emerged, one that didn't play by the same rules. Rumors spread of an international task force moving into Seoul, determined to dismantle the old order. Raids began. Allies disappeared overnight. Adebisi's café became a strange sanctuary, a quiet place where people from both sides came to meet, to hide, to heal. She didn't ask questions. She just served food and listened. And Joon-seok, he kept coming. Sometimes late at night, sometimes at dawn. He didn't bring guards anymore. No suits. Just himself. Tired, quieter, softer. One evening, he sat at the counter while she made tea. "Do you ever regret meeting me?" he asked suddenly. She looked over her shoulder. "Why would I?" "Because everything I touch burns," he murmured. "And you're the only person I've met who made me want to stop." She smiled faintly. "Then stop. Don't think about what the world expects. Think about what makes you feel human." He gave a low, humorless laugh. "You make that sound so simple." "Because it is." She set the teacup in front of him. "Drink. Live. Try again tomorrow." He looked at her for a long moment, then reached for her hand. "You talk like you believe in second chances." "I do," she said softly. "Because I'm living mine." But peace never lasts long in a world built on fear. That night, while she was locking up, the windows exploded inward. Gunfire. Screams. She hit the floor as chaos tore through her café. When the shooting stopped, smoke filled the air. She could barely see, coughing as she crawled behind the counter. Then she heard footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Joon-seok. He stormed in through the broken doorway, gun still in hand, shouting her name. "Adebisi." She stood shakily, glass crunching beneath her shoes. "I'm here." He ran to her, checking for injuries, his hands trembling. "You're bleeding." "It's just a cut," she said, voice shaking. "What happened?" "They found me," he said, eyes cold. "They're coming for everything connected to me. You shouldn't have stayed." "I'm not running," she snapped. "This is my home." "Not anymore." Her voice cracked. "You think taking me away will fix this? You think you can hide me from your ghosts?" He gritted his teeth, jaw tight. "I can try." She stared at him, anger and fear warring in her chest. "You can't protect me by turning into the monster they think you are." He froze. "Then what do I do, Adebisi?" She stepped forward, grabbing his blood-stained shirt. "You stand with me. Not above me. Not as my savior. As my equal." For a heartbeat, everything stopped. The smoke, the fear, the sound of sirens in the distance. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't clean. It was desperate, fiery, and raw, a man clinging to the only thing that still made him feel alive. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I don't deserve you." She smiled through tears. "Then become someone who does." He closed his eyes, exhaling like he'd just been set free. Outside, police sirens wailed closer. He knew he couldn't stay. "Go," she whispered. "Before they see you. I'm not leaving you again." "Yes, you are. But this time, you'll come back as the man I believe you can be." He hesitated, torn between love and duty, then finally nodded. As he slipped into the alley, she stood in the ruins of her café, heartbreaking but stronger than ever. Snow fell thick and soft across the streets of Seoul. The city, alive with neon and the hum of distant traffic, felt strangely quiet in the small alley outside Adebisi's café. She watched from the broken doorway, heart pounding, as shadows moved near the corners, remnants of Joon-seok's enemies, lurking, waiting. Her fingers clenched around the edge of the counter. She had thought the worst was over. She had been wrong. A black car rolled to a stop nearby, engine silent. And then, stepping out of the shadows, was Han Joon-seok. He was different now. Gone was the confident, untouchable heir. In his place was a man tempered by fire and fear, a man who had bled and survived, and a man who had risked everything to return to her. Snowflakes clung to his coat and hair, making him look fragile in the winter light. But the intensity in his eyes was unchanged, sharper, deeper, filled with purpose. "Adebisi," he called softly, voice carrying over the crunch of snow. She stepped forward, not hiding the tears that had gathered in her eyes. "You came back." "I promised," he said simply. "I never left you." "Not really." She shook her head, emotions conflicting. "Your world. It destroys everything it touches. I can't lose you too. He closed the distance between them, placing a hand gently on her cheek. Then don't. Not tonight. Not ever. The sound of distant sirens grew closer. Joon-seok's enemies had tracked him. He glanced toward the street, calculating. They're coming for me. For us. I need you to trust me. She met his gaze, searching for the man behind the legend, behind the fear. I trust you, she whispered. His lips brushed hers, a quick, desperate kiss. Then he pulled back, eyes blazing. Then come with me. Together, they moved through the snowy streets, slipping past the shadows of men who had once called themselves his rivals. Every alley, every corner, became a battlefield of tension and silent adrenaline. Yet, they moved as one, two hearts beating in sync, two lives intertwined by danger and defiance. Finally, they reached a narrow rooftop, snow crunching under their boots. From here, the city sprawled below them, a web of lights and shadows. Joon-seok stopped and turned to her. This, he said, voice low, is the edge. From here, I can either lose everything or fight for everything that matters. Adebisi's gaze softened, the fire in her eyes matching his determination. Then fight for us. Not for power, not for fear. Fight for what we can be together. He nodded, swallowing hard. I will. But you must know, if I fall for real. Then don't fall, she whispered, reaching for his hand. I won't let you. The wind whipped around them, cold and sharp, carrying the distant sounds of the city below. Then, in a moment that felt suspended in time, Joon-seok knelt on one knee, snow gathering around his coat, his breath misting in the frigid air. I don't want your fear, Adebisi, he said, voice trembling. I want your heart. But only if you'll stand beside me, never under me, never as a shadow of my world. Just beside me. Adebisi's heart stuttered. She searched his face for hesitation, for the old arrogance, for the mask that had once made him untouchable. But all she saw was vulnerability, raw and human. You can stand beside me, Joon-seok. Never above me. Her words were soft but unwavering, carrying the weight of every moment, every fight, every tear. He smiled, relief and passion mingling in his gaze. Snowflakes landed on his hair, melting slowly against his skin, and for the first time, he looked like a man unburdened by the legacy of fear. She took his hand, and they rose together, snow swirling around them like a curtain separating them from the past. Behind them, the city's chaos continued, but here on this rooftop, the world narrowed down to only the two of them. Fire and frost entwined, strength and vulnerability balanced. For the first time, Adebisi felt peace. Not because the danger had vanished, but because she was no longer facing it alone. Joon-seok's hand in hers grounded her, reminded her of courage, of love forged through defiance. He brushed the snow from her shoulders, leaning close. We'll rebuild, he promised. Everything they tried to destroy, we'll make stronger. Together. She nodded, warmth spreading through her despite the cold. And this time, we write our own rules. The wind picked up, carrying the faint echo of sirens and distant voices. But in that moment, none of it mattered. They were not just surviving. They were thriving, bound not by fear or power, but by trust, respect, and a love neither could have anticipated, a love born from fire, tempered by frost. Joon-seok pulled her close again, holding her tightly. I've waited my entire life for someone who could see me like this, he murmured. And I've waited for someone who could challenge me, she replied, voice soft but fierce. They kissed again, longer this time, letting the world fall away. The snow swirled around them, blurring everything beyond the rooftop. No enemies, no past, no empire, just two hearts colliding in defiance, passion, and hope. When they finally pulled back, Joon-seok brushed her hair from her face. Are you ready to face the world with me? Adebisi smiled, gripping his hands. I've been ready since the day you stepped into my café. He nodded, eyes shining with quiet determination. Then let's go home. Together. As they descended from the rooftop into the city streets, snow continued to fall. Soft, pure, relentless. It covered the scars, the ruins, the battles fought. And beneath it all, Adebisi and Han Joon-seok walked hand in hand, their footprints merging into one path. A path not dictated by fear, power, or vengeance, but by love, respect, and the strength they had found in each other. Weeks later, the café reopened fully, reborn as fire and frost. Joon-seok worked beside her, no longer a distant figure cloaked in shadow but a partner in every sense. Their relationship was not defined by dominance, but by equality, trust, and unspoken understanding. Chisholm laughed as customers returned, the smell of jollof rice and kimchi filling the space with warmth. Adebisi stood behind the counter, glancing at Joon-seok, who handed her a steaming cup of tea. She caught his eye, and they shared a quiet smile, a reminder of every trial, every choice, every moment that had led them here. Even Detective Lee, who once questioned them both, now watched from a distance, understanding that this union was forged not by power, but by something far stronger, mutual respect and enduring love. Outside, snow fell gently, blanketing Seoul in white, as if marking a new beginning. The city hummed with life, but inside the café, time moved differently, slower, warmer, softer. Adebisi took Joon-seok's hand and led him to the entrance. Together, they stepped into the snow, leaving behind the chaos and destruction that had once defined them. They walked forward, side by side, their hearts aligned, ready to face whatever the world might throw at them next. Their love was no longer fragile. It was forged in fire, tempered in frost, and it would endure. If this story stirred something deep inside you, don't just scroll away. Like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories that blend passion, pain, and redemption. Tell us in the comments below. Would you have forgiven someone like Joon-seok? And can love really melt the heart of a man born from darkness? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss the next heart-stopping love story that will keep you watching till the very end. Thank you for watching. Your story might be the next one we tell.